There we go. Wake 'em up, wake 'em up. It's Wednesday. Wake 'em up, wake 'em up. It's Wednesday. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Coach Eb, here for another Wake 'em Up Wednesday. Y'all know what it is. Every single Wednesday, we come here on this platform over here on YouTube for the series of turning pain into power. Now, listen, y'all, if this is your first time tuning in, be sure to go ahead, subscribe. Go ahead. I'll give you a moment. Subscribe. Now, while you're there, go ahead and hit the notification bell. That way, every single time we are live or we are coming with a new video, you already know what's going on. But today, I have a very, very special guest. My cousin, my brother, cousin, brother, ever. Hey, he all of them, okay? My cousin my cousin Delvon Crudup is here to talk to us, to tell us about a time where he turned his pain into power. Tootie, that's what I call him, okay? Y'all can't call him that. It's a me thing only. Delvon, go ahead, cousin, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Delvon Crudup. I am a 41-year-old entrepreneur. 41, I'm getting up there. I'm a 41-year-old entrepreneur. I own a barbecue restaurant in Saginaw, Michigan called Crudups. We have amazing rib tips, chicken, peach cobbler, turkey legs, whatever your thing is, we got it, and it's good. I have been married for 1 year to my beautiful and amazing wife, Sierra Crudup. She is the owner of Delicious Sweets in Saginaw. Trying to be a child of God, man of God, and follow the Most High, and just be righteous. That's what everything I'm all about. Being a family man all together. Soon, hopefully, be a father. Give it a little bit of time, not that much.
Thank you so much. And did y'all hear him say delicious? And did y'all hear him say anything you need? They got it. I mean, put them together. You got the savory and you got the sweet. I'm just saying, y'all heard it. That was the plug. Go get y'all some. Okay. So, Delvon, I thank you for joining me. I thank you for joining us. I thank you for giving us your yes. So, tell us about a time where you had a negative situation, something that burdened you, something that was a pain, something that you had to deal with, something that was possibly even on your nerves. Tell us about a time that you had to take that pain and you were able to turn it into your power. The floor is all yours.
All right, since I got the floor, I'm gonna do my dance. I can say the most painful thing in my life would have had to been my father's passing away a few years ago. Because as much as I was prepared for it and raised and taught how to expect it and what to do, having the experience itself and really going through it is something totally different. I've lost people that were like mothers and fathers to me before, but losing your actual parent is a total different thing. I had some friends of mine that lost parents, and after I lost my father, I understood I was part of the club. It's something that unfortunately people have to go through. It's a very trying and a difficult time. My father always prepared me for his passing at a very young age. He talked about, I think I probably was like 7 to 8. He talked about what he wanted his funeral to be like. He said he just wanted to put him in a pine box, take the insurance money, take you and your wife and y'all go on the cruise and y'all live your life. Don't be crying for me and none of that stuff. So being real young, hearing that, I remember that night I went to bed and I cried. I had a water bed. We had water beds at that point. Anyways, that was back in the day. So I remember laying in the bed and I was crying. And eventually, like, I started thinking, like, okay, I was a real deep thinker as a kid. I was like, okay, so if mom and dad gonna die, I mean, I'm gonna die one day too. That's just something that happens to everybody. So I had that understanding at a very early age. And my father would talk about death often, not in like a gloomy and sad way, but because his father passed at 2, so he didn't have a father, and his mother passed at 17, it was something that was always present in the forefront of his mind. So he just always spoke about it. And it was something that we kind of embraced growing up. And over time, we would start seeing family members pass, and we would see what had experience of losing someone and losing someone and going through mourning. So early on, I started seeing what that was like. And over the years, my dad would always bring it up. And, he got into his 40s. And I actually remember the age that I am now. I remember seeing the grays coming in his beard. I just started seeing that he started have to wear glasses and start seeing him get older. And it's like every 10 years, you would notice more and more change. He had a few strokes, had a few knee surgeries, and then he got congestive heart failure. So at certain points, especially after strokes, I remember thinking like, okay, one day I'm gonna get a phone call. I'm gonna go to the house. Somebody gonna call me, or either I'm gonna find them, and that's gonna. I had to prepare myself for that. Because he told me stories about how he came home and he found his mother when she had, I think it was a heart attack or either stroke at 17. So I always remember those stories. And my dad kind of raised us and displayed to us when you have a job to do, a lot of times all the emotions have to stop for a while because you have something you had to do. So I was at my restaurant and my father had a housekeeper to come in and help him wash dishes and things. And so I'm working and I get a text from a number that's not saved. And I'm looking at it, but I'm not really reading. I'm just taking a look because I have orders I'm trying to bag. I'm answering the phone. And I'm looking, it says something about my dad, but it seems like whoever texted this didn't text it right. I thought it was one of my nieces saying that their dad wasn't going to be able to drop them off at work or something. And I was like, I'll just read it later. And so like about 20 minutes later, I'm walking past the walk-in cooler and I get a phone call. I'm like, who is this? Let me answer it. And so I answered. This housekeeper is like, you need to get home as fast as you can. Your dad isn't breathing and the ambulance is here. And I yelled, what? Really loud. And after that, she said, don't panic. And I stopped and I remembered like, okay, you have to stay calm. All right, this is what's happening right now. And so I jumped in the truck. There was a lot of snow on the ground. And I remember thinking, okay, this is probably going to be the day that you always have been thinking about. Drive home, get there, turning down the street. I'm hitting the gas. The truck is swinging all over the place. I see the ambulance parked in. I go on the inside and I see my dad's on the floor. They're working on him. Okay, this is the day. This is most likely the day. So I'm still trying to keep myself contained so I can do whatever needs to be done. And it's almost like a switch went on. And because I was so well mentally prepared for it, my first thing was to make sure his housekeeper was okay. But she was concerned about me. And I asked her, like, you all right? And she like, yeah, I'm sorry. And I asked her what happened. She told me he went out to the car. He's getting ready to go to the dollar store like he always does. And he was trying to clean the truck off. And I looked out and it seemed like he was struggling a little bit. I said, bro, Ellie, you okay? He said he did. Told her, be quiet. And he said he kind of seemed like he was listening to something. And he smiled, she said. And she was like, "Are you okay? You need some help?" And he shook his head, yeah. So she got him in the house, brought him in, sat him down by the couch, and she took everything off because he said he was hot. He was having some difficulty breathing. But that had happened before. With his congestive heart failure, sometimes he would call and be like, "Hey, can you come here? It's hard for me to breathe." So I was kind of used to those phone calls. But I didn't get that text, so I wasn't able to get there while he was alive. And I can't say whether I'm grateful or not grateful. It probably was good that I wasn't able to be there. But so the lady's talking to me, telling me, "We've been working this long. Normally we go up to this long. We're about to do this next and do this next." And I'm like, okay. And so I went downstairs and, said a prayer. One of those prayers where you ask God to do something, but you still at the end say, "Nevertheless, whatever it is, if this is what you want to do, then okay." So I kind of got my mind around that fact. And like at that moment, I was like, okay, this is happening. Now I have to call my brother. I called him, talked to him. He was in Maryland, told him about what was going on, told me to let him know what was happening. From there, I called his older brother that was in Arkansas, let him know what was going on. I wasn't going to call anybody else until something was actually pronounced or something. So I waited there. And my phone was getting ready to die. I left my phone charged at the restaurant, had to drive back down there. For some weird reason, I'm trying to help orders get out before I leave. And the lady didn't have any money. And I just said, "It's okay. Just come back, pay when you can." She said, "I'm sorry to hear about your dad." And that made me feel good, just some sympathy from somebody else. And it was so heartfelt. And the lady actually came back and paid me too. She didn't even cheat me. But I get back home, I'm there. And then I called my brother back and I called my mother and let them know, like, yeah, I think he probably is gone. I already knew he was at that point anyway, but they were just trying to resuscitate him. So that was probably the most painful experience that I have ever experienced.
Wow. That is definitely a painful experience. So in that, what is something about that story that has sharpened you and shaped you to be who you are and how you operate today?
The whole experience shaped me in a way because it really sharpened my view and my look on life, what I want my future to be. Because when you see the most important person to you on the floor, it's like everything changes. Anything that was not that had the bulk of importance to you in your life didn't matter. What kind of shoes you had or what kind of car you had, none of that stuff matters anymore to me now because I had that experience. It really made me think about the type of father I want to be, the type of husband I want to be, the type of family member I wanted to be. It made me really think about life long term and even the afterlife, about what I want to do in my life, knowing that only what you do for Christ really lasts. So that was really the biggest thing that whole lesson taught me, is to really focus on your life, to put all your energy and effort into doing something that's monumental, that after you leave, other people's lives can be affected in a more positive way.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Ooh, when you got to Unc House, And when you initially got to the house, not
Mhm.
initially, I'm sorry, the second time after you went and got your charger, because listen, his phone is never charged, y'all. His phone is plugged up right now. Yeah. He said, let me get this charger because I don't want the phone die on you. But when you pulled back up after going to get your charger, what was on your mind at that moment when you pulled back up after you had already pulled up and knew what was going on? So like the second, in my mind, it's like the second time around, pulling up to see the situation at hand. What were you thinking that second time when you pulled up?
I was more so, I was accepting it, and I knew it was time to go to work because as a man, luckily he raised to be a mature man to know how to keep ourselves together. And we also a man of faith. So, I understood I had a job to do. So my next thing was really just, okay, I got to call my Aunt Penny, my Aunt Docky, my Auntie Lane, and I got to call his brothers. Okay. So it's time for me to do this. That was my thing. It was about how could I service them because they had him for longer than I had. You know what I mean? So I just wanted that was my thought. How am I going to tell them about this? Making sure that they're okay. I'm trying to figure out the best way for me to stay in the calm state to influence them. You know what I mean? Like if I call and I'm wigging out, they're gonna be like, "Oh my goodness, he'd have died," and Delvon is wigging. You know what I mean? So I definitely didn't want that. I called them, talked to them, let everybody know. Most of them start making their way over there, but in between then, uh, I called my brother and I let him know, like, hey, they basically declared him, and it was a sad moment. And then he started laughing, and he was like, he said, "Papa's with Christ." He was like, "Yeah, man, you did it." So it went from sadness to heavy hand clapping and stumping on the kitchen floor, yelling hallelujah, and just telling God I was grateful and thankful to have a dad like my dad, one that was able to teach me things. I have so many memories, so many lessons. I have a lot of friends who didn't have that. So in the hardest time, I want to still be grateful because of who he made me to be. And he didn't have a father, but I had strength at that moment, and I was grateful and I was thankful and appreciative for everything that I had been blessed to experience. And that was an amazing moment. Like, and I remember thinking afterwards, like, these medics are probably sitting here like, did they just have church after his dad is on the floor? Like, this was heavy duty, hallelujah, when it touched your soul. So, yeah, I was like, I'm sorry about that. She was like, no, it's okay. So, yeah, it was that was a good part. That was one of the good parts of it. But the whole experience after that, from obituary, picking out clothes. He wanted to be buried down in Arkansas on our family line at the family graveyard, doing all that. So we had to have 2 funerals. Me and my brother did the eulogy. So it was a lot overall, and because because the way my brain operates, I knew I had to do something for other people. I can put myself to the side. So I was able to get through it, to do it. And I was happy because I was where my father was raised at in Arkansas when we had to finally bury him. And so all those stories about where he grew up at, we buried him like in the same place where his house was, where he was born at. So it was really close to my heart. It was a good time. Everything was good until I got on that plane and we leave in Little Rock, and I looked at the window. I was like, now this is when it's gonna get real. Cause I don't have this dude around me. Like my had all of my strength when I was being a service to other people. Because that's what I've always done. Because I love people. I love people, but I don't like them. It's a real weird thing. So, but it was like when all the service was over and it was me, that's when some of the, okay, this is painful. This really hurts. I know I took you down a few lanes, but.
No, that's good. So, that's good that you said that and you segue into that because, so first of all, kudos to you and Huey. Y'all eulogizing your own father. Y'all did an amazing job, like for real. And the way that you carried yourself throughout that process was mind blowing. And I was like, okay, wow, you really handled yourself well. And what you said earlier is that Unc prepared y'all early by talking about it. A lot of parents, in all honesty, even me growing up, my parents didn't talk to me about those things like that I can recall. So he prepared you for death and talked about it, talked to you about it, so that way mentally he planted seeds, so you knew at some point in time, and then he started with you early. Now, granted, as I've gotten older, I've had those talks with my parents, but it started early for y'all. And so when this came, it was like, okay, I was prepared, but at the same time, I kind of wasn't prepared, but I was, because he had already planted that seed early. And a lot of parents, I feel personally, don't plant that seed like that, because let's be real. Who want to talk about death? Who want to talk about dying? Who want to talk about passing away, not being here no more? And you know what I'm saying? Having to go without. But something that you said, which is good, you said that you were fine, you were good, as long as you were serving everybody else, as long as you were helping everybody else, as long as, okay, I'm there for them. But you said when you got on that plane to head back, snap, okay, it's gotten real. So once you came back from from the first service that was here, the second service that was in Arkansas, and burying him down home, once you came back, how did you handle that process for yourself then?
I can say that the way I handled it is I had to stay aware and be aware and kind of ask myself where I was at and be honest with how I was feeling. I lost cousins I was very close with, Uncle Albert, Paw, but this was different. So I had to continuously check in with myself to see where I was at and evaluate myself. Because habits are a powerful thing. And so often throughout the day, I'm used to grabbing the phone and calling. Or if I'm laying in the bed and the phone rings, my first thought is, my dad here, all right? And so I can still say, I still do that now. Like, you're hardwired. And I'll be sitting there and be like, I need to call my dad. You know what I'm saying? Because you haven't heard his voice, or, you know what I mean? One thing that definitely did help me is because he prepared me. I always think about the future. So I always got a lot of video footage of my dad. So I had a lot of recordings. I had a lot of video, and I lost some stuff, unfortunately, but that's all right. So I always had things to look at. But our mindsets were so similar. I already knew kind of certain stuff he would do in many different situations. So it's kind of like it didn't feel like he was really gone. You know what I mean? Like when I look in the mirror, I'll be like, man, I look like that dude. So that was the most part. I had to continuously check in and be honest with myself about what was going on. Like I said, some parts was just going through it. And I know I had to. And, you know, just adjusting to him not being there. But I mean, Sierra was there for me. I had a lot of family members that called and checked in. And so you have your moments when you do. I was driving the expressway and broke down. I think I broke down like 4 or 5 times. You know what I mean? But I always knew it was okay. But then I would have like certain dreams, but they would be so specific to where like people would be like, just the fact that I had this dream this way is very, very weird. You know what I mean? Because it was so dead on. It was like, oh, okay, I remember everything and everything was vivid. But it really was just, I dealt with it through time, checking in and just evaluating myself.
That's good. That's good. That's a huge thing. Is being honest with yourself and how you feeling in that moment and being able to deal with those feelings and emotions that you're experiencing at that time. So my question for you is, what would you say to that person that has to, and for you, I've had someone on here before and she talked about losing her mom. And this is the first time that we've had someone speak about losing their father. What would you say to that person that has to bury their parent and wants to do it properly in the way that what they want, how they want it? What would you say as far as them going ahead and going through with it versus how do I explain this? For example, some people may want to I don't want to have the body showing because in my feelings, I'm just gonna have them cremated, right? But specifically, you had to pick out the outfit. Specifically, you picked out the hat. You know what I'm saying? It was matching from head to toe, and it was a certain way he wanted his service. And some people may be like, "Nah, I really don't want a service. I just want a memorial because I feel like this, and I want to do it like this because I'm the one doing this."
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to that person that because you honored what your father wanted in every way, shape, and form to the point where you had 2 services, was flown down to Arkansas and buried him down home where he wanted to be. So what would you say to that person that wants to honor their parent, but is having a hard time because of the feelings and emotions they're dealing with?
I would probably say, first off, you want to honor your parents' wishes and what it is or what it was that they would have wanted you to do if they communicated that to you. If they didn't, I would say, first off, take your desires and what you want and what you can withstand and what's too much for you and get that out of the way first. Because a lot of times the situations we want to make things about us because we can't endure the pain of it. You know what I mean? But in being adults, a lot of times you have to endure pain. It's a part of life. It's about what you're going to do during that moment. You know what I mean? Because you will always remember what you did and how you did it, that you did it in a way that they didn't want it, and it would bother you for the rest of your life. I had some family members say, well, why don't you bury him here so you can go and see him and make you feel better? And I was like, that mindset wasn't my father's mindset. He wanted to be where his father and his grandfather was buried. And that's where I'm going to be buried at. So you have to put their desires first. So when it's all said and done, you feel good about the way you sent them off, and then you start thinking about how you would want to be respected, how you would want to be done. You know what I mean? Ask yourself if you're being selfish, if it's all about you. You know what I mean? It's just about the way you want to do it, because once it's done, you're gonna have a lot of regrets, saying, "Man, I didn't do this way." You know what I'm saying? Think about the way you would want your kids to send you home, and it's like it's crazy because you don't have anything to do with when you come in this world, and when you go, it's up to somebody else. You know what I mean? So you hope that the person lived a good lifestyle where people honor them and will honor their requests. But that's what I would definitely say.
And we know something that we grew up with is going to church and everything. And in the Bible it says in Exodus, and is it Exodus or Ephesians? One of those, about honoring your mother and your father.
Yeah.
And in this situation, you need to honor your mother and your father. I do have another question for you, because you talked about how painful it could be. What are healthy ways that you dealt with that pain, or what would you tell somebody else a healthy way to deal with that pain when losing a parent?
See, I'm very transparent about things, and I'm not going. It's gonna be some people to drink. It's gonna be some people to smoke. It's gonna be some people to be sober. There are a lot of vices that people can jump into. I remember understanding. I think I told my brother. We left the funeral home. I heard some children screaming, and the scream was so loud and it was so piercing. I just remember being like, they didn't have a good relationship with their parents. And it could have been the child, or it could have been the parent. You know what I'm saying? So it could have been either one. But when it comes down to at the end of the day, even if a parent is being difficult or hard and you don't get along, just know one day it's possibly going to come. Or even if you're the parent, you could possibly lose your child. So sometimes you might have to accept some stuff and not argue as much, because you want to be respectful of your parent, even if they're not the most respectable person. You know what I'm saying? If your parent is an addict and you have a very difficult time interacting with them, that's hard to respect somebody like that. But the fact that you did come from out of them, that's enough reason within itself just to get them that respect. You know what I mean? What was your question again? I got lost.
Healthy ways to deal with the pain. What healthy ways did you deal with it? You spoke about some people use vices to to deal with the pain, but what healthy way did you deal with it? And you said you were being honest.
Yeah. Well, the most healthy way was, for me, I did a few unhealthy things. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? And it got me through about for a month.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just sleep and trying to relax because you're going. But the truth is, it's gonna come right back to your doorstep.
Right.
So you might as well put on your big boy boxes, your big girl panties, your bloomers, and let's go ahead and hash this out. But sometimes it can be so much there if the relationship wasn't good. If you had issues, or it's been some people who cursed their parents out and something happened. You know what I mean? And to live with that is very difficult. But the thing that really helped me is I have memories of my dad, and I always recall them. Like I remember our hunting trips. I remember conversations and things being like, okay, I'm gonna do this the same way when I had kids. I'm gonna tell them this. I'm gonna teach them this. And then I was there for just about everything. So when he had surgery, I was there. When he had both his surgeries, when I had to take him to the hospital, I have a memory where we was in the hospital. He was like, I said, all right, Dad, I'm getting ready to go. He was like, Vaughn, it's always seemed like it's just been me and you. I was like, yeah, it seems like that's the way it's going to be too. You know what I mean? You have those memories when things are right. And I know that actually the last time I spoke with him, I remember I came down to the marketplace. He called me, and I go to this memory all the time. He said, son, can you give me some fruit from Jack Fruit Market? And I was at home. I'm like, I don't feel like it. And I called the restaurant, you, Ebony, Fur, and y'all was down there cracking up. Y'all was laughing, having a ball because my dad was talking crazy like he do. And I went and got him the fruit. And I was kind of tired, like, I wish you could have went and got this in the morning, Dad. But I did it. You know what I'm saying? I did it. And I have so many other memories. I got voice messages of them where he's saying, I know you're busy, son, but can you stop by the store and give me some spaghetti sauce? And so I knew I was always there for him. And I just remembered all the conversations and all those things. So that was really what kept me going, and knowing that I did a good job. But there's a few times where we had some spats going back and forth, but we always got to understand it. You know what I'm saying? Because I love my dad. But one thing I always chose to do, if there was any negative thought, because we were so close, maybe I should have did something better. I never held on to those thoughts because I know he wouldn't want me to hold on to those thoughts, because sometimes those things can be very hurtful for you. They can be very addictive to keep going back to, I wish I could have did this. And there's no way you can go back in time. And if the person loved you, they wouldn't want you to be in that state. Like, why are you doing that? Don't think about that. You did a good job. So I always went back to all the memories. That's what really helped me in thinking about how I was best going to do my job with my life. So when people see me, they be like, yes, Brad Elliott, son. And it's ironic because, like, I kind of feel like I'm walking the same way he did, but these are my own shoes. But I see the same responses that people gave him, they get to me. So that's always an indicator that I guess I'm doing something right. Got me with the shaky voice on here. But yeah.
Okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
You definitely are. You definitely are and have been and have done things right, especially when it came to something that you said that I had to write it down. You said that you made a choice to let go of the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Yeah. I should have did this. I could have did this, because that has a tendency to hold us down and have us bound into thinking, well, I could have did this way. But the fact that you were able to let go of those and be able to continue going and moving forward, and even seeing, like you just said, to this day, people respond to you the way they responded to him. So you know that you've been doing things right. You know that you're doing things right.
Yeah, it's too much weight. It's too much weight to have somebody carrying that on their shoulders. It's the choice to forgive yourself, and knowing when you had a relationship with somebody, even if it wasn't good, a mother, a father, if you can talk to your parent, and if you say, hey, you forgive me, they're going to be like, yeah, I love you, my child. So there's no reason for doing that. But we feel guilty, and we're unable to forgive ourselves from things. And I think that's just a good thing to do, even if somebody isn't past. It's just you got to forgive yourself of the past. Definitely. One thing I was kind of definitely thinking about is my cousins and my other family members who their parent might not have been as outspoken about passing. Like, I felt like I'm doing a good job at this, but I didn't want any of my cousins to go through that and to not be prepared. You know what I'm saying? And to have it sink them because they never had the conversations. Or you wishing you would have asked all these different questions. You wish you would have had all these pictures to pass on. Because when a generation passes, there's going to be so much information that you will never be able to receive again. So to get that and to capsulize that so it can be passed on and to know that you did that is definitely something, a great thing to do.
Yeah, that is most definitely. Listen, this has been very enlightening. This has been very more powerful than you probably realize. Again, kudos to you for being there for Unc. The way you have been there for all these years.
Yeah.
Because I remember being at the restaurant, you'd be like, yeah, I gotta run and I gotta go stop by the store for Pops because he needs some Alfredo sauce or something like that one day you said. And when he called, you delivered.
Yeah.
And for that, you definitely can say that you did what you were supposed to do as a son and you honored him. Even when he was no longer here, when he passed, you still honored him and honored his wishes as you're supposed to, because that's what the Bible says. We're supposed to honor our mother and father. And even when you said, for example, someone that may have a parent that's an addict and still having to respect them because that's who brought you into this world. That's how you got here. So you still need to have some form of respect, some form of honor for that parent, even though their situation may not be ideal. It's not your situation, because let's think about how many times have us as children been in some situations and the parents, you know, that tell you real quick, a hard head make a soft behind, or is a soft head? No, you know, hard head, soft behind. Something like
right, first time.
So it's so many times that us as children have been in situations that weren't ideal to our parents. And they still loved us regardless. They still forgave us regardless. You know what I'm saying? So it's only right at the end of the day to still have that respect and that honor for our parents because of what they've done for us, you know, all these years, even if it hasn't been perfect, even if it hasn't been exactly what we wanted. They did the best with what they had and with what they could.
And so sometimes some parents have been scoundrels, been terrible, you know, but it's a choice that the child makes when they want to pick the direction that they want their lives to go. Like, I want this in my life. I want this to be better in my life. It's a choice that you make just to be like, this person did not do anything to deserve this respect or this love, but for this one reason, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? I'm going to give this person this respect. How you doing, Mom? Okay. Hey, Dad. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I ain't going to call you hey, Ed, you know? You know what I'm saying? So it's just little things. Not saying that you have to, parents have left their kids in dumpsters and left them in terrible situations, but it's just a choice that a person makes just to be better for themselves. And it's more about them than about the parent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. Most definitely. Listen, this has been another Wake 'em Up Wednesday on how Mr. Delvon Crudup, my cousin, my brother, has taken the pain, the passing of his father, and he has turned it into power. Something that you said that is, I don't even know how to put it, but long story short, the people say praise him anyhow. And in a situation when your father went on, that's something that you did.
Yeah.
That's something that you did. And in doing that, and people may think that sounds crazy to do something like that. No, praise him anyhow, because he's going on. He's no longer in pain. He's no longer suffering. He's no longer in agony. He's no longer, hurting. And you don't have to see him like that. And he doesn't have to feel that. So he's going on to be where he needs to be, and he's pain free.
My biggest thing for me was I was just happy for all the things that I received, because my dad was definitely a believer. And, some stuff a lot of people definitely didn't get to see, but my dad didn't just talk Christ. I saw him do things consistently that taught me certain things. And it was more, I watched him and I could see it. I could see Christ. And so I always had moments where I felt like, man, these are special moments. I'm so happy. I look at my dad and he have a certain smile. I'm like, me and my brother make my dad happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I reviewed that, I was just like, I don't know where I would be in faith and maturity and the way I think if this man had been in my life. And it was such a blessing. Sometimes things you have, you can be so used to them that you think is normal. And some other people be like, I never had that before. I had a friend of mine tell me, he said, I love coming over your house, being around your dad and your mom. I was like, I didn't know this. Like, I like coming around, like being around your dad. The little boys in the neighborhood. My dad gave some of them little boys puppies. And come to find out, some of them boys, I know for sure one of them, he killed somebody. But when he saw my dad, he turned into a little kid again. You know what I mean? And so it was just a blessing to have him as a father, and just maybe tighten up and say, okay, what type of father do I want to be? What type of example do I want to be for other men and even women, young women, you know what I'm saying, who don't have fathers around, who are making decisions. And so for whatever amount of time I'm around them, whatever I could, you know what I'm saying, I want to be kind of like that. Somebody that's just kind of respected and know he's a good person to be around.
That's what's up. That's what's up. This has been so good. Listen, y'all, if y'all are just tuning in, if y'all are just watching, y'all need to go back and catch the beginning, because this has been amazing. Okay. So y'all, we gonna wrap it up. This has been great. Delvon, do you have any last words for anyone out there that maybe that this story may resonate with? Do you have any last words?
Take the time to see the greatness that God created you in. And sometimes we can't see that because some of the conditions that we're born into, the difficult things we have to experience. But once you realize who you are and what you've been made to be and the possibility of what you can be, if you think a certain way, have the right people around you, you can change your whole life and affect so many more people. Pain is always going to be a part of life, but if you can endure it, if you can think the right way about it, it could be something that pushes you and gives you clarity. And then you have the testimony to help other people who are going through things, because you could be a help or a hindrance during somebody's time when they should be lifted up. You want to make sure you're lifting the person up and not tearing them down. And so I would say work on yourself, be honest with yourself. Don't get so caught up in this world that you don't know God or know what's up from down. Be honest with yourself. That's all I can say to you.
That's it. He said, be honest with yourself. So if you're lying, you better stop.
Hey, If you like lying, keep on lying, but it's gonna catch you in the end.
It's gonna run up and catch you. It's gonna bite you in the butt. But y'all, listen. It has been another Wake 'em Up Wednesday. I told y'all for Black History Month, I was coming for the Black men in my family. And listen, Vaughn, I thank you so much for joining me on this Wednesday evening. Until next week, listen, y'all. We have another brother cousin coming to grace the stage, another Black man coming to talk to us about how he turned his pain into power. Okay, Vaughn, again, I thank you for joining us. I thank you for giving your yes and telling your success story.
Thank you. Love you, girl.
Love you too. Up until next Wednesday, y'all know what it is. I'll holla.
Wake 'em up Wednesday with Ed. You know how much I tried to have